Hello everyone, FPL Raptor here, and welcome back to another daily price change prediction video here on the Fantasy Football Fix YouTube channel. In these daily videos, we bring you the latest news with respect to predicted price rises and predicted price falls. If you're looking to build up that essential team value, win your mini leagues, and improve your overall rank, you are in the right place. Without further ado, let's take a look at who's predicted to rise in price and fall in price tonight ahead of Game Week 11. So guys, as always, in this first section, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the actual predicted players that are going to rise in price tonight and fall in price tonight. And after that, we're going to do a bit of a statistical comparison between two players that I think people are going to be very interested in. So, starting with the players that are predicted to rise in price tonight, as you can see straight away, the two players that are above 100% progress are Rudiger and Smith Rowe. Remember that if someone is above 100% progress on the Fantasy Football Fix website, it means that we are predicting them to rise in price tonight. If they're below minus 100%, it means we are predicted them to fall in price tonight. So Rudiger's at 118% and Smith Rowe's at 100.3%. Rudiger is rising at 2% per hour. Smith Rowe is rising at 11% per hour after another goal for him in Game Week 10. So both of those already above 100%, both still rising at a fair rate per hour. So I would be fairly confident that both Rudiger and Smith Rowe are going to rise in price tonight, unless obviously a lot of people are activating their wildcards, because of course wildcard transfers do not count towards price rises. Other than that, there are two players that are both well below 100%, but I think could still rise tonight because they're being brought in by a lot of managers per hour. Chilwell is the first one. He's at just under 80% progress, but he's rising at 2.7% per hour. So again, if he continues to be brought in at roughly that rate, maybe a little bit of increase in activity, he might rise. But as Reece James was the one to get 2 goals today, I think the activity might slow down slightly on Chilwell. And then Ramsdale was the other one. Goalkeepers don't normally get such massive bandwagons for them, but he's at 72.1% progress, and he's rising at 7.3% per hour. So if he continues at that rate, he will definitely be at 100% progress by the time the price changes happen at 2:30 AM British summertime. So very, very interesting. As you can see, Barnes, Calvert-Lewin, Stones and Rafinha are the other ones I've selected as being potentially of interest. Those 4 players are all predicted to fall in price tonight, but all 4 players are falling very, very slowly. They're all under 1% per hour. So, or minus 1% per hour, I should say. So they're all right on that sort of boundary of minus 100%, and they're not falling very far. So with those 4, all 4 could fall or none of them could fall. So just keep an eye on them. Very, very interesting that Rafinha is falling in price before Norwich, obviously, which will be tomorrow. However, I think it's because of the potential flag. It looked like he might be injured. He might still not feature at all. But I guess if he hauls in that Norwich game, then he could go up again once again. So I don't think you're going to want to sell him tonight without seeing what happens in the Norwich game, but it's one to monitor. Outside of that, I have just highlighted a few players that I thought would be of interest to you guys. If you can see at the bottom of the screen, none of them are predicted to rise in price tonight, but they're all still interesting. Foden, Salah and Trent are all predicted to rise in price tomorrow. Obviously, Trent only got the 1-pointer. Salah got 1 single assist, but he still continues to tick along. And Foden blanked in that game, although he could have had an assist if Gabriel Jesus' goal wasn't ruled out through VAR. So all 3 players, again, I don't think they're going to rise in price tonight, but they're all going to be close to the boundary, and we'll probably discuss them in tomorrow's video. The other 3 players are Heung-min Son, who's at 68% at the time of recording. I'm recording this during the Manchester United Spurs game, so if Son does anything, that could shoot up and he could rise in price tonight. But again, I think it will be tomorrow or the day after. The Burnley midfielder, I think it's Cornet. I think the T's silent. He's been absolutely amazing, ticking along really nicely. And I think we'll discuss him probably in tomorrow's video at some point, because his underlying stats are really, really strong as well. And I think he could be the budget midfielder to own along with Smith Rowe. And outside of that, you've got Reece James, and the Fantasy Football Fix website hasn't quite caught up to the transfer activity at the time of recording this. He's still only rising at 1.1%, but he's at 20% progress. And due to his 21-point haul in Game Week 10, just happened earlier, I do think that he'll start to be brought in by the masses. And probably by the time you're watching this video, he would have shot up massively. And if he's being brought in by sort of 10-15% per hour, which you could definitely see when you see that Smith Rowe's being brought in by 11% per hour, I could see Reece James rising in price tonight. I think it will be tomorrow, but it's definitely one to monitor later this evening. And I'll maybe let you guys know in the comments of the YouTube video by the time this goes live whether Reece James looks like he's going to rise in price. So those are the predicted price changes tonight. As I said, Rudiger and Smith Rowe are the 2 that are already above 100, but it's worth keeping an eye on Chilwell and Ramsdale. Barnes, Calvert-Lewin, Stones and Rafinha all very, very close to price falls. It will be sort of hit and miss as to whether they will fall tonight. And then Foden, Salah, Trent, are three players that might be rising in price, but probably tomorrow. And I would just keep an eye on Reece James, because whilst he's only at 20% at the time of recording, by the time this video goes live and by the time the price changes actually happen in the early hours of the morning, I think Reece James will be very, very close to a potential price rise. So I did make this comparison, might have been last week or the week before, between Ben Chilwell and Reece James, and I think a lot of people found it useful, and so I'm going to do it again despite covering it recently. I know Reece James is only at 20% progress at the time of recording. I just think that will be very, very close to 100% by the time this evening swings around. And regardless, I think it is very interesting to take a look at the underlying statistics for Chilwell and James. If you don't own either, who are you going for? If you own one and not the other, do you make the double up, or do you potentially look elsewhere? If you own Rudiger, Azpilicueta, Christensen, do you potentially look to go for Chilwell or Reece James instead? Of course, Rudiger looks like he's rising in price tonight, but if you own Azpilicueta or Christensen, it might potentially be worth making that move. So as you can see on screen at the moment, we're looking at Ben Chilwell and Reece James's heat maps. Obviously, Ben Chilwell on the left back, and then Reece James on the right, closest to me on your screen, obviously as a right back. If you just take a look at their heat maps from sort of open play, these are their touch maps, by the way. So every time they touch the ball, it pops up on the screen. And obviously, the more touches, it'll be closer to red. So they're very, very, very similar. Reece James takes more touches than Ben Chilwell. He has more touches than Chilwell, gets more involved in the action potentially. But as you can see, Ben Chilwell takes slightly more corners than Reece James. They are both potentially taking some corners, and as you can see by the touch maps, they are in-swinging corners. But I would say that Ben Chilwell, when Mason Mount's back, I wouldn't expect James to take them over Mount. However, I would expect Chilwell to still take those in-swinging corners on the other side. So very, very similar. When you watch them in the eye test, I would say that Ben Chilwell definitely gets forward a lot more. However, today in Game Week 10, that was different. Reece James looked like a different sort of player. We saw Tuchel in the press conference, his embargoed quote, say that Ben Chilwell finds it a lot easier to be freer. He finds it a lot easier to be a little bit more daring in attack, and Reece James needs to be encouraged to do that. Clearly, whatever Tuchel said to him has definitely worked. So, touch maps wise, I wouldn't say there's a lot to separate them. They both look absolutely amazing. They look essentially like right wingers and left wingers. There's so many touches in the opposition half. If we just scroll down a little bit and take a look at their shot maps, something else you can do on the Fantasy Football Fix website, you can see, again, not that much to separate them, but because of Reece James today's, obviously where he scored a lot of his goals is from inside right, and a lot of Ben Chilwell's is sort of inside left, so they're scoring from similar positions as well. They're both taking a lot of shots. We can see that Reece James likes to take a few more shots outside the box. We can see 3 there in comparison to just 1 for Chilwell. But again, not a massive amount to separate them. Reece James obviously taken 2 more shots than Ben Chilwell, but overall, I'd say, once again, both incredible, both taking good amount of shots for fullbacks. I suppose they're wingbacks rather than fullbacks. And attempted assists is another interesting one to look at. And as we can see, lots of attempted assists for Reece James, 4 more than Ben Chilwell. And 3 of Ben Chilwell's have been from corners, whereas only 1 of Reece James's has been. And so I would say that from a creative perspective, as we're going to look at in a minute, Reece James is definitely the more creative of the two, and he definitely takes more attempted assists, whereas Ben Chilwell, I would say, is not necessarily greedier, but he's got more of an eye for goal. Although, again, that did change today with Reece James's 2 goals. So if you keep scrolling down, as you know I like to do on the Fantasy Football Fix website, keep scrolling down, you get to the average statistic per 90 minutes. Now, the reason I like doing that is it just mitigates for differences in playing time. Obviously, you need to take into account if one of the two is more likely to play 90 minutes. But if they're both fairly likely to play 90 when they start, I do like to look at this because, yeah, as I said, it mitigates for if someone's played 2 or 3 extra games. There is a clear winner here. And whilst this has been shifted due to today's game, it has been something that I've held, the opinion that I've held for a long time, in that Reece James has the superior goal involvement, or at least expected goal involvement, in comparison to Ben Chilwell. The thing that everyone loves about Ben Chilwell is that when he doesn't start, he's very unlikely to come off the bench. And obviously, he's scored a lot of goals recently, and he looks like he's high in confidence. If we take a look at goals, very, very similar. 0.75 per 90 for Chilwell, 0.87 for Reece James. Expected goals, very, very close. Reece James comes out on top just, but I would say that that's almost identical. Shots, again, we've seen already with when the shot maps, the Reece James is taking more shots than Ben Chilwell. But again, it's not a massive amount more. And this is very close as well. Shots on target, Ben Chilwell slightly more. Shots in the box slightly more. But they're very, very comparable for the two. This is where it's not comparable between the two. Because for goal threat, I would say that they're virtually identical. Ben Chilwell has been slightly on top in recent weeks, but now due to the incredible game week 10 performance for Reece James, he's now slightly on top here. But creativity, Reece James has always dominated Ben Chilwell. 0 assists for Ben Chilwell this season, 0.43 per 90 for Chilwell. Expected assists, and this is a stark contrast, 0.06 for Ben Chilwell, 0.35 for Reece James. Attempted assists, as we saw, higher for Reece James in the previous section. Big chances created, Ben Chilwell hasn't created any this season, 0.43 for Reece James. Ben Chilwell was putting 0 crosses per 90 this season and 0.65 for Reece James. So from a creativity perspective, Reece James is 100% coming out on top here. From a goal threat perspective, they're fairly similar. What I would say, and it's very, very important to put this into perspective, is that both of these players are, in my opinion, the 2 best players to own in the game at the moment. Not just from a defensive perspective. I think they are that good that they have to be priority. I already own Reece James, but I'm looking to bring in Ben Chilwell for Ruben Dias next week, potentially. It doesn't even matter at this stage. The clean sheets are obviously amazing, but they are getting into such amazing positions that they're essentially right and left midfielders playing in a very good defensive unit for a very attacking team. They look fairly nailed. Of course, we can see Azpilicueta at right back. Of course, we can see Alonso at left back. But I just think that Tuchel thinks that Chilwell and Reece James are that good that they will play the majority of minutes moving forward. If you're looking to bring one in, the underlying statistics support Reece James, but of course the risk of cameos might make you lean towards Chilwell. So it's pretty touch and go. I think Reece James is obviously cheaper. I think, obviously, if you look at the price predictions as well, it looks like Chilwell might go up in price tonight. At the moment, Reece James is nowhere near. But as I said, by this evening, I think they'll be a lot closer. So I think tomorrow, we'll discuss them again, of course. I think tomorrow is likely that they'll both rise in price. It's very, very close. I'm happy to own Reece James, but I'm not kidding myself into thinking that Ben Chilwell isn't a fantastic asset. And I'll probably be looking to have a double up moving forward because there's such a fantastic value from Game Week 11 and beyond. So guys, there you have it. Those are the predicted price rises and predicted price falls for this evening. Just another friendly reminder that price changes at the weekend are very, very, very volatile due to the amount of transfer activity that's happening in response to all the games. People shipping players out, bringing them in response to mega hauls or mega fails in some cases. So the best way to stay up to date is that after you watch these videos in the evenings, you should head over to fantasyfootballfix.com or download our free app and enable push notifications so that you can see any changes in transfer activity so that if you are moving early tonight, you can make the most responsible decisions possible. If you are enjoying the content here on this channel, please do remember to like, comment, and subscribe. It's absolutely free for you guys, but it helps support the channel so very much. Until next time, which will of course be tomorrow evening, thank you so much for watching. Catch you soon. Bye-bye.